Greetings, Missouri Mid-South Conference. It is the middle of January, which means that it is time for congregational meetings in many of our local churches. We often have either quarterly or an annual congregational meeting, and for a lot of our local churches, this is the time. And I love January congregational meetings because it is the fun, sometimes messy, but always important work and conversation of a local church that invests in itself and its ministries and the way that God is calling us to be the church. I love it because often there's usually a little bit of anxiousness or a little bit of grit that goes with the meeting. But it's also our opportunity to live out who Jesus called us to be as disciples. You know, when I think about the disciples and Jesus, he didn't call a group of people that were just like him. He didn't call a group of people that were heavily educated or well off or maybe the same personality types as the Myers-Briggs or the same types in the Enneagram. He chose people that were completely different from one another, and their homework was to figure out how to live together and work together and worship together and love together. And really that is the model to me of what it means to be a church, but also what it means to come together in a congregational meeting. For many of us in our January congregational meeting, we are looking at our income and expenses from the previous year. Perhaps we've already passed the budget for the upcoming year, but we're assessing where we are. How have we been good stewards of the generosity that we've been given? And how can we do a better job of living into who God is calling us to be with the responsibility of living as good stewards of our generosity? I want to share the same kind of a little bit of a tone from that perspective of a congregational meeting. In the conference, we don't have a congregational meeting until June with our conference annual gathering, and that will be a wonderful time. But I wanted to just share with you from a pastoral perspective that in the next few months, in the next few weeks, we are looking at our finances and looking at what we brought in from your generosity of our church's wider mission and what expenses we've had in 2016 and how those balance out. And then making sure that our 2017 budget reflects the reality of what we've received and spent in 2016. One of the things that I invite us to do as a conference as we are looking at our finances is to be in prayer, to invite a prayerful Sophia wisdom spirit for those of us who are the servant leaders of the Missouri Mid-South Conference to look at our finances in 2016, our income as well as our expenses, and then to make sure that who we are and what we do in 2017 reflects a realistic stewardship of generosity from that perspective. In that prayerful spirit, I will share with you that one of the things that we are seeing pretty quickly as we're beginning to close our books and look at everything is that our income related to your generosity from our church's wider mission is actually low. It's not at the level that it was last year. We're seeing that churches, for perhaps many different reasons, were not as generous as they have been in previous years. And I take that seriously in terms of wanting to listen to our churches and where you may be saying ouch, and that ouch may be we can't pay our bills. How are we going to pay our OCWM commitment to the conference? Or it may be ouch, We never see the conference unless you want to get upset with us or unless you want to tell us what to do, and that's not okay. Or just ouch in terms of here's where we are. And so I want to share with you that the Conference Council and the Executive Committee and myself, we will be looking at the giving from our church's wider mission from the local churches, as well as the Friends of the Conference Fund. That income for 2016 was also significantly less than we expected or that was reality in 2015. This is not to scare anyone or to be like Chicken Little and say the sky is falling, the sky is falling. I do it for two reasons. Number one, because we are a conference and we are called to share with one another in transparent and healthy ways. And I certainly don't want you to hear from me or from anyone else that money is flowing and life is great and we're just eating bonbons in the conference office. But I also don't want you to become overly afraid and, oh my gosh, we're closing the doors. Ginny says we're closing the doors. No, that's not it. A part of what we will be looking at is where we are in terms of our financial health and what we need to do in order to make better decisions, how we need to be in conversation with our local churches and our ministers to make sure that our communication and our covenant and our relationship is strong and healthy so that you choose to be generous with your very significant money that you have been given by your members and your friends of your local church. This is the joy and this is the responsibility that it is to be a local church, a conference, and the wider United Church of Christ. It's nothing to be afraid of, but it is to say that we are disciples together. We are a faith community that follows the ways of Jesus in our love, in our stewardship, and in our generosity. And from that perspective, we will do this together, this day and forevermore. Amen.